Hey all, Chairwoman from Bedlam Brothers here. Today I'm going to be looking at the solo missions for Amazon Fury Part 1, that's DLC 10. The missions take place in Gotham Under Siege, which is the new area for this DLC. When you enter, there's going to be 4 people stood around on the rooftop if you're hero side. 3 of them are going to give you a mission. Their missions can be done once a day, or you can reset them for 12 replay badges. Doing these missions will reward you with a soda and a mark of fury. There's 9 possible missions, so each of these people has 3 that they can give you, and they're randomly given, so you might get the same one in a row a few times, you might get some different ones, but there's 9 in total, and we're going to look at them now. Just a basic tips and tricks on how to get through them quickly and what happens where. First one we're going to look at is Scry Havoc. And the first thing it'll ask you to do is go to one of the scrying bowls or scrying bowls. I tend to use the one up here on the west side, just because it's nearer the mission where it asks you to head afterwards. So when you arrive, you get attacked before anything loads up, but when you start seeing things, you want to take out the harpies and the secretive witch that are guarding the bowl. I tend to run these solos with all of my sidekick, supply drop and orbital strike, because lots of the things in here do hit very hard. Once you've used the bowl, it'll tell you to head over to this area up here, which is a little bit further west still. And it'll tell you to find a vantage point and ambush patrolling enemies. I tend to use this bowl here that's at ground level. I find that some of the other bowls spawn near a few of the bosses that are in this area, so there's a couple of bosses for different missions that spawn in this area, and if you use the other bowls, sometimes you'll get put in fights where they're nearby and they can get aggro and come in and mess up what you're doing. Once you use the bowl here, it will spawn a couple of enemies that will walk around. They're not particularly tough enemies, you can just stick them to the floor or stun them and then mess them up with weapon mastery. Then it's going to ask you to defeat the lumbering Cyclops, who spawns in this area nearby. So here's a lumbering Cyclops. It's quite a tough boss enemy, so it helps if there's someone nearby that's doing the same mission, but you can take him out by yourself if you need to. When I fight him one-on-one, I tend to use the supply drops and things like that to make the fight easier. And that's the first of 9 done. It'll ask you to head back to Commander Adonia to let her know that you finished the mission. The next one we're going to look at is called Watch Your Step, and the first thing it will ask you to do is search for an agent. If you head into the area where they are and drop onto a roof, or jump up to a roof if you're a speedster, they're not guarded, you just talk to them. They're going to tell you some information that you have to take to the landmine distributor. They're going to let you know about landmines, and you're going to have to jump down into this area and wait for landmines to spawn. So they look like little circles on the floor, so here's one. If you stand on top of it, a trigger will come up and you have to press circle on them and defuse them before the timer runs out, and then run them back. And you need to do this 6 times. On the map, if you can see in the top right hand corner, if you look out for where the red dots are, that's where it's spawning ads, and the ads will come and interfere with the mines diffusing. So try to avoid where the ads are so that you don't get drawn into lots of lengthy battles. Once you've brought the 6 mines in, it's going to tell you to go and defeat enemy ordnance master, and this is the boss fight for this mission. You'll head, before I engage actually, you'll see the orange combat area. They'll either be at this end or right at the opposite end down by that mast. This boss uses a staff and uses the staff combos quite frequently, so when you block them you can get quite a lot of counters on him just from blocking. And then when he's down, get your weapon mastery off on him. Once he's dead, you're going to be heading back to Adonia to let her know you're finished. The next one we're looking at is called Tour of Duty. That's going to tell you to head up to the north side, where there's you're going to get a ad basically that it gives you that has to follow you around, and you have to guide it to a couple of objectives. So you speak here to the captain. He's going to give me my ad, and now I have to look after the ad and take it to a couple of places. So first things, right forwards in front of you, I'm just going to look for an unoccupied white dot, which is the target. Rather than kill these, you'll probably need to, if you're not a troll, you'll need to kill these ads. But if you're a troll, you can just stun them. Sometimes the pet gets excited and keeps fighting, but eventually he should do his objective. There we go. Once he's done his objective, we're going to head up to the south side to the water vendors here. And just get onto this ledge. If you follow around in a circle, you'll eventually find a barrel. They can spawn at any of the corners of this, so just head around it in a circle and you'll find one. Once your pet's done what he needs to do, keep heading south. I'm going to check in with this lady. She's going to tell us to defend the forward base, and that basically means killing 6 of the ads that spawn here. Now if you look at their health, some of them are going to be fighting the friendly ads in this area, and if you choose to engage those ones, you're going to have a much shorter fight because they've already got a lot of their health missing. Right, once you've defeated the 6 ads, it's going to tell you to take on a guard captain, and the guard captain spawns at the back here. Now if you take on one of the ones that's close to the front, these ads are going to see you and get involved, and it makes the fight a lot more difficult than it needs to be. So I recommend on this one is if you head right to the back, there's one here, you see? And if we get his attention, he'll come out and fight me over here away from all of the other ads, so that it's a one-on-one fight rather than a 5-on-1 or 6-on-1. He does hit very hard, and he's got a lot of health, this boss, so you know, I find I need the supply drop usually for this guy. When the guard captain's down, it's going to send you back to Adonia to let her know that you're finished. The next one we're going to look at is called Flock, Stock and Barrel. That's an homage to a Guy Ritchie film, clearly. The first thing you need to do is head to this roof, where you're going to find mounted ballistas, and take control of them, and you're going to be using them to shoot down these birds. There's two shots that you have available to you. There's one that's the first button, or square on PlayStation, and that is fairly effective at shooting the birds down. The second shot version, which is triangle on PlayStation, I haven't figured out what it's for. It doesn't seem to do anything. It doesn't seem useful. I don't know what that is. But the first shot you can use to take down, you're going to need to shoot down 15 birds. It takes a little while for the bullet to come out. There's an animation on it. It's a sort of slow crossbow. So when you're aiming, you want to aim just ahead of where the bird's travelling. Some of the birds will carry bombs and will try to dive bomb you. When that happens, you need to shoot them, otherwise they'll destroy the turret that you're on and cause quite a bit of damage to you. There's a feat for getting 150 of these, and you can stay on the turret longer than you need to. So once you've killed your 15 that you need for the mission, you can stay on until the turret expires. The other thing you can do is group up with friends, because you'll get the credit for anyone in your group kills while you're in the area. So it can be useful to do this one with a group in order to get that feat. Once you're done knocking birds out of the sky, it's going to tell you to go and free eagles from cages, and that's just a little bit south of where you're doing the turrets. Each cage is going to have a couple of guards posted next to it that they're going to basically stop you from opening the cage. What you can do is, if you stand on top of the cage, the ads can't actually hit you or distract you, so rather than fight them, you can land on the cage, open it, and then fly away. Once you've freed your 5 birds, it's going to tell you to head over and defeat the raving cockatrice. That's a little bit to the west and up on these buildings. It can spawn up on that roof there, it can spawn in this crevice down here, or it can spawn where it has done here. One thing to be careful of with this boss is you can knock it off the roof, and if you knock it off the roof, it'll often reset its health back to full. So you want to try to avoid doing that if possible. Once they're dead, you'll be told to head back and let them know you've finished. The next one is Prisoners of War. For that one, you'll head over to this area with the water towers again. This time it's going to tell you that you need to question Royal Outrunners. What I tend to do for this is, in the middle of the barrels, you'll usually find 2 Outrunners with no other ads around, so that's usually where I start to get the first 2 done without having to fight other ads. And apart from the ones in the middle, you'll see them spawn either end of these buildings. And there's one on the opposite corner, and that'll be your 4. When you've got your 4 Outrunners questioned, it's going to tell you to head and rescue the imprisoned Amazon sisters. That's southward, and all of them have guards making sure you don't rescue them. So if you drop down, you have a guard here. You can fight the guards. I'm just going to stun them here for speed and rescue the prisoners while they're stunned. So yeah, I can just stun them and rescue. Look at that dog. That's a good stun animation. Someone programmed that in and thought, yep, let's use that. Brilliant. Once you've freed your 6 sisters, it's going to tell you to go and defeat a royal jailer. And if you look at those little tent things, they spawn in those, so there's a few of them. You want to pick one that's far away from ads, so that you don't get extra people to fight. Easier fight than some of the other bosses with the jailer. They're a little easier to crowd control and counter. And once she's dead, it'll ask you to head home and let them know you've finished. The next on our list is supplies in demand. And it's up in the western area where the prisoners take place, and you'll see there's these cubes, the little companion cubes that need picking up and taking to a different area. If you look on the map, you'll see the red dots indicating where enemies are, and you'll be able to find 4 cubes that have no enemies near them, so you don't need to engage in any fights to get this part of the mission done. This one, for example, has some enemies stood near it that would trigger if I went down, whereas this one is free to be picked up. Once you've got the 4 cubes collected, it's going to tell you to go and assist your injured allies, and they're over where the landmines mission was earlier. When we get there, you'll see that there's doubled over warriors that just need picking up. The same as with the cubes, you'll be able to find some that have guards near them that you'll have to fight, but if you're clever you can look and see ones that have no guards near them, and you can simply drop in and pick them up. Once you've assisted 6 of your sisters, it's going to tell you to go and defeat a terrifying sorceress, and she can be found on the roof over here. Again, they have their little tents that mark that they're a boss fight. Like with the cockatrice, you can knock these off the roof, but with the sorceress it doesn't matter so much if you knock them off the roof, their health won't reset, you can fight them as normal. Once she's down, that'll be the end of the mission and you can head back. The next mission on our list is called Fire and the Sky, and it's going to send us right to the far west side of the map. And it's going to tell us to retrieve Greek fire catalysts and destroy enemy Greek fire reserves. Now, there's lots of these scattered around, especially at ground level. With the ones at ground level though, there's lots and lots of ads, so you get drawn into quite a few fights if you do the ones on the floor. What I found the quickest is to head to the top, and there's a few that have no guards and some that only have 1 guard. So if you grab the ones on the ceiling, again I'm going to stun the guards rather than kill them just for speed here, but if you're a DPS, healer, tank, you'll probably need to fight them at that point, but they're not particularly tough enemies, but it is definitely quicker if you stun them, get what you need and then run away. When you're doing these objectives, definitely get the bags before the bombs if there's a few in the same area, because the bombs will explode and knock everything flying, so it's definitely best to do the little bags on the floor before you do the big explosive ones. Okay, now it's going to send us back down towards where you shoot the birds in the other mission. We've got to take these catalysts to Alchemist Chrysanth. So yeah, when we arrive at Chrysanth, she actually has loads of Alchemist bags already, so I think she was just wasting our time getting us to get her more. She has more than enough. But anyway, she's going to transform us into a phoenix. And in this stance, you only have one button in your loadout, the first one, and all that will do is turn you human again. So don't press that. While we're in phoenix form, it's going to get us to grab these bombs that are next to her and head over to this railway bridge. You can hold ranged attack now to drop the bomb. You got to use this to kill 20 enemies. It's useful if you can hit multiple enemies with these, because otherwise, you see there, I just hit one and keep having to come back, get another bomb, head back to the railway. It's a little tedious. Once we've killed our 20 people on the bridge, it's going to tell us to go and defeat the Cabalist. And they're located just south, in between these two buildings at ground level. You'll want to change out of bird form for this. And drop down. It looks like one isn't here for me yet, but it should spawn in a moment. Here we go. Similar to the terrifying sorceress on the other mission, she's not particularly worrisome. I mean, she's the same as the guard captain as well, actually. They have different names, but their attacks are pretty much the same. You can stun them fairly easily. They'll put a few blocks in there and a few lunges and things, but more or less harmless. And once she's down, you're done with that mission and can head back. The next one for us to look at is called Holding the Line. And Holding the Line takes place down by this bridge. There's going to be enemies underneath it, and it wants us to defeat 8 of them. They're fairly basic ads, but they can group up really rapidly here, so you want to make sure you're getting the ones on the outside edges, because if you jump into the middle by yourself, you're going to have a bad time. Once you've killed your 8 enemies, it's going to update your mission and tell you to go somewhere else and kill 8 more enemies. It's my least favourite mission here because it's not particularly inventive. It's just go to a place, kill some stuff, go to another place, kill some more stuff, kill a boss. But at any rate, the next enemies are going to be on this giant car park frame. There's not many that spawn here, so you might have a few moments where you can't find anything, but if you're patient, they'll pop up. Okay, once we've defeated our 8 ads from this area, it's going to send us to go and defeat a guard major. And same as before, they spawn in the tents. There's a few of them in the area, so try to only fight one. Again, easily stunnable with these ones. Fairly easy to take out. I don't think this one's actually managed to hurt me yet at all. And once the boss is down, that's your mission done. And the last of our 9 missions is called Suggestion Box. And the first thing it's going to ask us to do is head over to the water tower area and disenchant psychic subjugators. There's a few psychic subjugators that you can choose from. The ones that are in the middle, like this one here, have loads of ads around, and it'll take you a while clearing the ads out. The ones I prefer are on the outside edges, because they only usually have 1 or 2 ads that you have to worry about, and then you can get the job done. Secretive witches need to be taken out, but anything else like the harpies and the campaigners, you can just stun and get the portal done while they're stunned, and then leave to save time. So again, the ones on the outside edges, campaigners we can stun, secretive witches need to be taken out, because if we try to stun the secretive witch, she's going to break out of it. One of her secrets that she has is the secret of how to not be stunned, because she's the only person in the map here that seems to be unstunnable. Everyone else will take it. So once we've got those portals done, it's going to tell us to go and deactivate Onyx statues. And they're over up by where those scrying bowls were from earlier. And see one there. They often spawn with a secretive witch next to them, so same again, you'll need to be taking the secretive witches out, as they don't stun easily or for very long. One thing to be careful of while you're doing these Onyx statues, if you remember the lumbering Cyclops from earlier, they're in this area wandering around, and so if one comes across you and gets involved on the fight, it becomes really uncomfortable because they're quite strong. So you keep your eye out and make sure that you don't fight anywhere near see, there's one over there in the distance, so just make sure that you don't get too close to them when you're getting the Onyx statues. Okay, when we're done with the Onyx statues, it's going to send us back to where we came from, and we're going to be asked to defeat Harpy Couriers. And they spawn over here. Let's find one and I'll show you what they look like. There they are. So the thing that's interesting about the Harpy Couriers at the moment is there's a bug with them where they're not actually spawning as they're supposed to in every zone. So sometimes you'll come here and there'll be no Harpy Couriers. Now if you look around for a minute or two and you can't see any, the chances are that you're in a bugged area. But there is a workaround on how to get on with the mission. So what you can do, you can either go back to the watchtower and change to PvE or PvP, just change phase and come back, or you can find a friend and phase with them to a different phase, because when they don't spawn, it is phase specific. So just because they're not spawning in your phase doesn't mean they're not spawning somewhere on the server. SOE know about the bug and they'll be patching it soon. I'm sure it'll get fixed, but for now, if you have this problem and you're stuck on this mission, just try changing phase and you should be able to carry on and get away with it that way. Once we've killed our Harpy Couriers, it's going to tell us to defeat a Mesmerizer. They can spawn at ground level, but the ones up on the roof are better to fight in my opinion, because there's no other ads around that get in the way. Mesmerizer is one of the tougher bosses. They don't stay stunned for long and they throw lots of counters in and they hit fairly tough. So Mesmerizer is one of the bosses I'll tend to use sodas, trinkets, supply drops, that sort of thing for. because they do hit hard. Once she's dead, that's the end of the mission, and that's all 9 missions now that you can get in this area. When you get back to base, if you speak to Adonia, you'll get a mark of fury for each mission you do, and I think they give you a soda as well for your trouble. Once you've done 15 of these missions and gone back to Adonia, she'll give you a mission which is a sort of bounty. So if we look here, it's added in my journal to get Catwoman. There's 4 possible bounties it can give you. You can go and kill the bounties at any point. You don't need the mission, but you won't get any loot just for killing them. That being said, there's a feat for killing all 4 bounties, so if you want, you can just go around, find them and kill them for that feat without the missions. So when you have the bounty mission, it'll put an orange grid where the bounty can be. They're very easy to find, it won't take long for you to track them down and engage. To do one-on-one it's possible, but they're very hard because they hit very tough, these bounties. So what's best to do, for me anyway, I like to group up with someone. With 2 people it's no problem, any more than that is very easy. I've basically put a shout out to see who can come help. Usually people are pretty friendly and happy to come and help. When the bounty's down, it'll let you go to your journal and complete the mission, and that's where you'll get to choose the gear. So if you see here, you can scroll down and pick the piece that you want. I have the style that this drops as, so I'm going to grab the mask because I want to see what mask comes out of it. I imagine it's going to be an old style reused, but we'll see in a second. The gear that drops here is item level 89, so if you're wearing the Rage gear, Vestments of Rage gear from Operation 3, that gear is going to be stronger than this, but it is a 3-star feat for a style nonetheless, so it's worth doing for those skill points. So if you look here, yeah, the style is Archer, so it's a previously used style on the face piece, so if you're just after it for the style, you probably won't need it. That being said, the style that does drop here is the Amazon Polemarch gear. It's fairly standard warrior style plate gear. I'm wearing it at the moment. The headpiece is kind of cool, and the back piece there, you've got the cross swords that people have been talking about and liking. But yeah, as for the rest of the pieces, they're kind of standard fare. So yeah, you'll need to do the missions 15 times to unlock the bounty, and then you'll need 8 of the bounties in order to do the whole style completed. So that was what, 120 times you'll need to do these solo missions in order to complete the style. So yeah, getting good at getting them completed quickly will pay off, because otherwise you'll spend a long time in here. So yeah, 120 times in total to get the style completed, and that'll be 120 marks of fury as well, so you'll be able to buy some of the item level 92 gear that drops from the vendor in here. So it is worth spending the time to do. That's all 9 missions, that's the bounties covered. I think that's everything, but leave a comment if there's anything I've missed. Thanks for watching.